Hey everyone, welcome to the UFO Hub live stream. So today is open lines, and of course, I welcome everyone that would like to talk to me and share their story to please download the Telegram app on your telephone or the computer. Find the UFO Hub group. I also have a link below the video if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, it should be above the video. And so there's a link to the group. Join the voice chat and simply raise your hand in there. So it'll tell me that you want to talk to me and we'll connect. So I would like to cover a few things today, and there's a topic I would like to cover. As some of you know, I've had many different experiences throughout my life, and I don't really get to go into great detail to discuss some of them. So I'm going to go into some of that before we go to open lines. And but before that, I would like to discuss an article that came out today in the New York Post first. It's in relation to the UFO report that we're all expecting to come out soon. And so let's I guess let's get into it. So as we all know, we're all awaiting for this report to drop, and this article came out about 4 hours ago from the New York Post. And at first I was like, just as I kind of thought that they're going to go down this route, that it's a national security issue. But then as I read, oops, sorry, switched over to the wrong slide. As I read over the article, there's something had happened here or occurred that uh, that basically gave some congressmen or representatives a little sneak peek about what they potentially could be talking about or coming out with in the report. And so this is their reaction on it. And of course, the title, UFOs Could Threaten U.S. Security, polls say after Capitol Hill briefing. So initially I was like, oh man, I can't believe it. They're going to go down that route of this is a national security issue, as I've always have done. But as I went through, it was simply a remark by one of the representatives, and it's not how all of them felt. So I guess this is just another way. I shouldn't have expected anything better of another way of a newspaper to, I guess, get people's attention. But anyway, so let me read to you a little bit about this. I won't read the whole thing, but I just want to go over a few things just so you get an idea what this was. So, Capitol Hill lawmakers said Wednesday that UFOs could pose a pressing threat to America's national security as the polls emerged from the highly classified briefing with Navy and FBI officials on the unexplained phenomena ahead of the release of a highly anticipated Pentagon report on unidentified flying objects before month's end. Members of the House Intelligence Committee received a hush-hush sneak preview inside a SCIF, or Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility. Let me scroll down some more. As for the existence of extraterrestrial life, the lawmakers largely left the secret inside the surveillance-proof room, declining to tell reporters what they learned. And so, what this basically was, and I'm just going to skip through to get to the point because I don't want to spend too much on this. This was one remark by one of the representatives. It says, we take the issue of unexplained aerial phenomena seriously to the extent that we're dealing with the safety and security of U.S. military personnel or the national security interests of the United States. So we want to know what we're dealing with. Rep. Sean Patrick Malone. And so basically they kind of took his comment and kind of made a title out of it. But the further down you go, there's different representatives, like this Rep. Val Demings said, this is driving me nuts, said, I think it's important to understand that there are legitimate questions involving the safety and security of our personnel. And I'm reading the same thing again. Sorry, I've changed my browser around, made the text a bit bigger, and now with this New York Post constantly coming down, it's confusing me. Okay, no, I guess this is Val Demings expounding. It's always about our safety and security. Our national security is priority number one. And so that's really the area where we really focus on this morning. And there's another comment from Adam Schiff saying, it was an interesting briefing, he said. I did learn things that were certainly new to me, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. Well, when I really think about it, and when it comes to these politicians, pretty much anything that's not going to shock us that have been into this for a long time, anything outside of that, the fact that anything outside of normal Earth life exists is going to shock them. So I'm not exactly too confident that that statement holds any water, or it's supposed to be, an inkling that, something is coming down the pike. And let's see. So this is one other quote, I believe, from Mike Quigley. He said, the stigma is gone. He said, now that's as big a change in policy as I've witnessed about this issue in my lifetime. So the fact that they are taking this sort of thing seriously for the first time, I think is important. And so you can see it has a different tone based on who you talk to. And then, of course, at the very end, this was a comment made by Peter Welsh. It says, "If I had to predict how the public will react to this, one word would be disappointing." And so, anyway, initially I had thought that with this big title that it's officially out, that they were going to take this down the negative route, but then I quickly realized it's just based on this hush hush briefing that they all had. Different representatives came out with different quotes and opinions of what they saw. Now, of course, I still hope they do actually stand true and come out with information at the end of the month so that we can see what they have. But I'm glad that it's not a sure thing that they're going to go negative with this old UFO scenario. So anyway, I just wanted to give you an update there. And I guess in this article saying a month's end, that was the first time that I've actually heard anything of when it could come out. Because June 1st, the idea was that it could come out anytime soon. But then it's been we're in June 16th. And so we're like, okay, what's happening now? And obviously now it's month's end. So we'll see. Don't hold your breath. But whatever comes down the pike, I guess I'll cover it, talk a little bit about it. And of course, then you can go on and read up on it yourself some more. Because it's, I realize not everyone that's watching this channel is already at the level that most of us are, that are seeking information beyond just flying lights in the sky and breaking sound barriers and all that, all these crazy weird experiences that a lot of the experiencers have. That's what I like to focus on more, because like I said, this what they're at now, or where they're at now, is where most of us were 20 years ago. So always have to go back, catch up a little bit for the newbies, and then hopefully skip forward and give more information about other things and moving ahead with the subject. Excuse me. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to get into the open lines and talk to some people some more there. And just keep in mind, you're not obligated to have to stick to the topic that I want to cover just in the very beginning, because it's just my way to, like I said, to get more information out. You can cover anything you like, whatever your story is, whatever you want to get into. If you want to expound on something else that I've said previously or today, that's what it's there for. So it's not constricted in any way. This is just me using an opportunity to cover certain things with you guys. So the topic was basically, kind of inspired as I was trying to figure out what else I could possibly cover. The remembering experiences you never had is something that it was not an attempt by me to kind of be clickbait. I actually want to go into telling you about what it really feels like to remember something that it wasn't anything that you experienced during this lifetime. And when you're dealing with experiences like with contact with ETs and out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences, things like that are common occurrence, to where you remember things again that before were not part of your normal everyday memory bank, and it's way before you were born. And so I want to at least share some experiences from my end to just tell you that how it felt and how it's really not that of a crazy experience. I mean, it's not something that they'll rattle your belief systems to record to where you can't function, for the rest of the day or for weeks. Certainly, there were plenty of experiences like that left that effect on me. But this one was more of a subtle, like, oh, it happened. Wow, weird and crazy. And then it allowed me to just, move on with now this new remembrance. And so before I start, I want to just tell you for those who have watched for a while and for a long time, and just maybe to clarify for somebody that's possibly new here, for me, an experience being had, let's say, having a contact with an extraterrestrial in person, or having an experience like they mentioned, being on their ships or abducted, or an experience through dreams, or experiences through psychedelics, or experiences through out of body experiences. At the end of the day, it's the message that counts, and how you got there to me doesn't matter, because it's the validity and the connection of what the point of that message was and pertinence to my life that matters. So how I got it really is not that important. It's almost kind of like, to use a silly example, as I always do regarding love. I mean, if somebody asks you out over text, or they ask you out in person, or they send you an email or write you a letter, it's the response from you that initiates this connection that potentially you will have a mate. It really doesn't matter which way you were being asked out. And so it might be a silly analogy, but I hope that kind of conveys the point that, you can play this game to where you say, well, I don't accept your proposal over letter. How dare you do that? Ask me out in person. Or you say, how dare you text me? Why didn't you call me? That's almost like a problem for you, and a judgment on your end that you hierarchically put things in order, and only if they happen in this way, only then are they true, only then are they valid. That's something you're going to have to work out. For me, I've learned a long time ago that the message is important, and whatever I was conveyed, does it work in my life or not? And most of the time, actually 100% of the time, it did. It was just me overcoming my judgments and my, I guess, stereotyping of, well, it needs to be this way, and if only if I am on a ship and they're telling me this is valid, but it's not valid if I was on a psychedelic trip. That's something that I learned to long time ago, break down all those barriers and differentiation, that it's all coming from the same place. And so one of the particular experiences, one was the near-death experience that I had. The other experience was during a LSD trip regarding memories. And so I figured I'll start with the LSD trip first. There was the experience when it first starts out. It's basically a very nerve-wracking experience. It's very much the process that you're going through before I had, for example, the feelings that we're going through before I had a physical visual encounter with those two orbs, or UFOs, to use those terms. And it's basically overcoming that fear, that different energy, that once you get past that, and just kind of go along with the ride, does information flow a lot easier, and it's there's not as much to overcome, not as much fear, not as many barriers. And so one particular experience was that I just remembered everything. I remembered every single part of why was I there, why everything, why it happened in my life the way it did. I could understand and see the connections happening on the planet, between people, universally. Just everything was clear, everything was understood. Then all of a sudden, I felt this vibration. It was getting heavier and heavier, and then I felt like I stooped down a little bit. I still had now a lot of that remembrance, but now I remembered that there was a part of me that I knew about, but I can't remember. All I was left with was this memory that I knew once, but I can't tell exactly what it was. And so I was lingering around that level a little bit. And then the next thing I know, I just stooped down a little bit more. And then there was more that I was like, oh, there was more I understood, even more than that. But now I'm only stuck with this understanding. And so basically slowly, I mean, it seemed like it took forever. It slowly went down, went down, went down, went down. When there, all that was left is me, Adnan, and my memories and everything that I understand and know. And it stopped at this level. And so it was basically telling me that all this regarding like what you remember, what you don't remember, it was basically to make me understand that it was all self-imposed. That even though me as Adnan, as a character playing a role on this earth, there's a higher portion to me, and to everyone else, that basically has a higher goal, different things that different plans that are laid out for you to do. And so um, the at this particular instant, and there were many others, but this was regarding me understanding that all that I don't know is imposed on myself for a reason, and I won't know until I'm done playing out what I need to play out, and then I will understand more of this information, whatever else is out there. And then just to skip forward regarding a near-death experience, where then I had this experience upon seeing my parents that I was basically, I remember the agreement I made with them for them to be who they are in order for me to have this experience that I'm having on this earth, to become the person that I am today. And, with the strong-willed, certain desires, certain skill levels, all of that was pre-orchestrated. But again, it was a chosen I guess forgetfulness to then be part of this game and to be able to play it out in a very genuine way without feeling like you're cheating to where everyone else is playing along with the rules except for you. So anyway, but in both instances, what I wanted to clarify is that it wasn't that scary. It wasn't that weird, because when it occurred, the feeling was, and I often try to come up with an analogy. And if you followed me for a while, I try to find an analogy to break it down for some of you all the time. I know it's not a very good way to make a point, but sometimes certain experiences, there's no other way to do it. And so, in this respect, to just give you an idea what it's like to, again, remember and to not be freaked out by it because you also didn't remember when you made this choice. It's very similar to an instance to where, let's say, you go into bed and you think about, okay, well, I got to go to work tomorrow, and then after that, I'm gonna go to whatever store, pick up some things, buy some milk, and then I'm gonna go hang out with friends, and then after that, I'll go home. Well, anyway, you go to bed, you wake up, you go to work, you're done with work, you go and you hang out with friends, and everything was fine. You go home and you find yourself again, laying down, and you just kind of, just thinking about whatever you think about before you fall asleep. And then it just hits you like, oh, I forgot to go get the milk. You remember when you made the choice, you remember why you made the choice, because you're like, well, my fridge is empty and I need milk, and there's nothing super extra, weird about it. It was simply, there was an event, an instance, you made a choice, and voila. The thing is, with when you remember again, you don't get freaked out that this memory came out of nowhere and hide in a corner somewhere for weeks on end because it's something that you didn't fulfill in some way. You just know that you had this memory. It wasn't like that. And so none of these experiences were like that either. It's like once I remembered, it was like aha moment, and then chose to forget again. Like I was telling you about these different levels, about I will know more when I need to know it. Right now, where I'm at this point in my life, this is all I need to know. But having that experience, it made it perfectly okay. Because before, I was constantly fighting it. I was constantly thinking I'm missing out on something. I have to look, constantly, break down every single barrier that's there, only to realize the barrier was there for a reason. It wasn't always a nefarious reason, and that's okay. So anyway, I hope this kind of clarifies a little bit. I try to give you just a little bit more detail about this little smidgen. Next time, probably next week, I'll cover some other subjects. If you would like to talk about it, like I said, connect to Telegram and find a UFO group, join the voice chat and chat with me about it, or just chat with whatever experiences you had. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that subject, and so let me see if we have some people in the voice chat yet. Okay, all right. We have Kenny, Nathan, and Bradley. So welcome to all of you. And then let me go to YouTube chat. All right, looks like there's some Renee, welcome. Ida, welcome. Stan, there's Kenny, Vitra, M. So thanks for being here, and welcome to Open Lines. So let's see. We'll go back to voice chat. I had Kenny raise his hand previously. All right, Kenny, you are unmuted, and go ahead, talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Just want to say thank you once again for allowing me to get on your platform and to continue to talk about my experience with strings and unusual and paranormal activities. I want to keep it like short because I don't want to go back like last time. So I'm going to talk about 2 topics, and we'll see where we go from there.
Sure.
Okay, so the topics I want to talk about is people with special abilities, and the second topic would be my abilities of what I can do. Okay, so the first topic is I have come across certain individuals who are gifted. Have you ever seen the Justice League? I mean, yeah, the movie Justice League.
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember the part where Superman sees the Flash running so fast that Superman sees him in slow motion?
Yes, I remember that.
Okay, I am able to see people to go so fast that they are like a glimmer. All right, I was at a stop sign. I was in a vehicle with a friend, and what happened was I saw an individual on the left-hand side of the corner. Right, he was ready to cross to the side where I was at. But the thing is, I was like 4, maybe even 5 cars, back in the stoplight. But something was guiding me to turn to the right. And I turned to the right, and by the time I turned to the right, I saw like a glimmer, like something fast approaching. And by the time I turned to the right, that individual was right there beside the vehicle. And I clocked him before he even got there.
Right.
That's my ability, is that his ability was to go very, very fast. I've also met people who are able to use telekinesis. Now, this was at a bar. And what happened was I was talking to a certain individual. She was a lady. And we're at a bar, and we're talking about she wanted to go to college. And I asked her, what do you plan on, being? What do you plan on, what do you plan on mastering? And she said she wanted to be a doctor. And I told her, do you want to be a doctor for the money, or do you want to be a doctor for helping out individuals because you're genuinely that nice that you want to save people? She said she's only doing it for the money. And as soon as she said that, right, I had like those 2 cans of beer. I'm not sure. I wasn't entirely sure if they were full or not, because I was just talking to her. This was her, cans of beers or whatever. And she was able to move 1 can. I don't know how, telekinesis or something, but I was able to witness her slide the can to the left all the way towards the edge of the table. Now I was about to catch it, but she had stopped it because I'm assuming she already knew that my intention was to catch the can. But she was able to use telekinesis to do that. Um, I've I've come across people who are telepathic, who can literally talk to people in their mind. Now, I would like to thank COVID-19 for helping me out an experiment on this subject because, like I told this one guy that you were there, uh, I told this one guy, has it been more easier to telepathically talk to people because of the COVID-19? Because you had the mask on. Now, what I was trying to say is, and I think I said it right when we were talking, but what I was trying to get out, the point was that I'm able to put on a face mask, right? And I also put on like another mask on top of that face mask, just to secure, to be on the safe side. You know what I mean? Now the mask that I put on would look like a V for Vendetta. All right, so it looks like a normal face. So I can see that people can, or these things, whatever these things are, I can see how they can get confused because they think that it's a face. Anyway, so I've tested this experiment, and it's worked more than twice. The first time I was at a mall and I was just walking, and I saw an Oriental individual, and in my mind I said "Konnichiwa." That means hello.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me, and he brushed me off with one hand, and then he looked downwards and then to the left, as if he was like frusciante, like ashamed or get away, like he didn't want to acknowledge my hello.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I said it right. Okay, so, and that's when I had the mask on. All right, I don't know how he could have given me those signs of gestures unless he knew what I was saying. The second time I've tried this experiment, uh, same thing, same mask, same covering. I saw a particularly certain individual. Now, this is what threw me off the most, right? Okay, so in my mind, I wasn't even thinking. Look, I was just like, okay, in my mind, I was saying, "Ooh la la," you know what I mean? And of course, I said that in my mind. I would never say that out loud. I'm not a creep, you know. So I said, "Ooh la la," who is this, And then she turned her head, gave me the look like a woman would give you if you like if you're like a construction worker and you're like, "Hey,
Right.
Toots," you know what
How
I mean?
dare
Okay,
you?
so she gave me that look, and I was like, "Whoa!" I didn't even say anything out loud. But after she realized that I wasn't talking with my mouth, she turned back to her friend and continued to walk. Okay, so and then those are just a few of the certain people that are able to do that. I've met people who are able to, morph or shapeshift. People who are able just to change their face, just the face alone, from certain individuals, like to a man, to a girl, or they even change their face to people that I knew, but there's no way of them knowing unless they were in my mind. Okay, so there are certain people who can completely morph their entire bodies. Like from, it goes like this: they can either be young or very very old. They can be men or they can be a woman. They could be a baby, yeah, a baby, or they can be a full grown old man. All right, these things are capable of messing with reality. Now, what I can do, my abilities, this is the second topic I want to talk about because it's kind of like they're both the same topic, they intertwine. I'm able to heal very quickly, like very quickly. I mean,
Yeah, I remember you
like,
saying that last time. I think I was asking you if it was because of your experiences as a child or because of that thing in your chest that you said you had.
and to respond to that is I was born like this. I can talk about how I came to be, but I don't want to get into that because that's even beyond what I'm saying now. So I'm trying to like slowly like bring in the topic of what I am.
Mm.
So let's just say that I was very gifted the minute I came out. Something or someone, what you could call it, entities, aliens, alternate dimensional creatures, or heaven, God, angels. I'm connected to something, and something's connected to me. I'm attached to something, and something's attached to me. I don't know what it is, but it is not benevolent. It's not evil. If it was evil, it would have killed me a long time ago. This thing has been helping me, guiding me every step of the way. And like that one guy who was talking about, oh, they chose him because he has diplomas, degrees, and so on and so on. And but that doesn't make any sense because
I don't know. Are you talking about the guest?
I don't want to name any names. I don't want to badmouth anybody, but I want to get over that, like, no pointing fingers here, but I'm just saying that they wouldn't choose anybody like that because they're too okay, how can I say this, cocky, or too well, they're cocky, I guess, because they'll claim this and they'll claim that, and these entities, they don't deal with people like that, mostly because they would bust out the degrees, or the Oscar or the Grammy. They'll do all these things, and like they're like, whoa, wait a minute, we're trying to give you a message here, but if you want to bust out your trophies and awards, we're just not going to deal with you. And so they will deal with someone like me, someone who listens, someone who obeys, someone who even though no matter how crazy it may seem, will still follow the order. Now, I'm not very well educated, but thanks to these things, they have been giving me they've been giving me the answers to everything. There'll be like certain things that I'm like, oh, who is this character? Who is this actor? Or who is this dude? Or I know you from somewhere, and I'm boom, okay, now I know who you are. You know what I mean? So I have something with me helping me out telepathically, I guess, or whatever you guys want to call it, and it guides me to where I need to be. Or like nothing for me happens in coincidence. Nothing. Everything happens for a reason for me. Now, my life was purely created by these things, whatever these things are, heaven, whatever. The point is that when I died, it was telling me that death, so there is no time, there is no seconds, there is no minutes, there is no years, there are no months. Numbers do not exist. Words are just symbols that can be broken. Okay, so what these things are telling me, that nothing can hurt me. Nothing. Now, if you read the Bible, it says, thou shalt not tempt the Lord. Now, I don't tempt the Lord by doing anything crazy or radical. All right? But this thing will protect me. There's been plenty of times where I've got into car accidents, and every vehicle that's ever tried to hit me has gotten more damage than me. I came out perfectly fine. Their vehicle had to go to the shop. All right. I'm able to bend still. Yeah, still, if you can believe that. I'm able to bend it. And I'm able to slow down time or whatever, because I like if you ever study UFO abductees, they have certain criteria that applies to their abductees, such as scars, mostly near the knee or the back, or they're implanted with something, or they're it's just, I've looked into it, and as I looked into it, I applied for these abductions that has been going on. Now, they probably could have been experimenting with me since I was a child. All right, but I'm gifted. I'm able to know things. It's like nobody, like, the information that I know, no one should know. Right? Nobody should know. Not even the Pentagon should know what I know. All right, but I know what is really happening. Now, besides my strength and my healing factors and uh my knowledge that's been given to me, um, what else? Oh, I'm able to like hours would pass like that in seconds. It's insane. Like, I would say I'm able to go fast, but I don't go fast. Like, say for instance, I get out of work. I Something's telling me, make sure you tidy up before you go out to drink. All right. So okay, so I tidied up. I made sure everything was nice and neat. A friend had called me. He was at the bar and says, "Hey, come over. We're having some beers." I'm like, "I'll be right over there." And as soon as I walked into the bar, I see him hanging up his phone, and I hang up my phone. Like, "Hey, you here?" And I'm like, and I looked at him like, "Yeah, you called me." "Yeah, but I called you not that long ago. I mean, you got here like almost in a second." Like, "Oh, okay." I thought that was, I just kind of blew it off. But as I go back and think of every scenario that has happened to me, nothing happens, out of coincidence. Okay, I was in school, and no, I was working with my mom. All right, I was working with my mom. She was how do you say? She was a cleaner. She was a house cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, in a hotel, and I would usually help her out before. So every once in a while, I'll help her out, and I'll like skip school, you know. So, but as I was working in this one room, I kind of just sat in the bed, and I thought to myself like, "Gee, I wonder what home ec is doing right now, because it's right around that time." And I laid down. I said, "I'll just close my eyes, and I'll just like get like a power nap." And so I closed my eyes. By the time I wake up, I felt like I've been drained, like exhausted. Like, I felt like the sun went down like dramatically. I got so panicked, I freaked out, and I just cleaned up the room and then left and then went to the next room and just kept on going and going. Now, as I did that, we went back to the house. The next day occurred, and I was able to go back to school, and I was able to go to every single class and have them sign a slip that says that I was absent that day. Now, when it came down to home ec, she looked at me and she said, "Shriti, you were here." I'm like, "What? What do you mean I was here? I wasn't. I was absent, ma'am. Here's the paper. Just sign it, and I could turn this into the office." But she kept on saying, "You were here, and you were helping out." I'm just gonna name a name, Frank. You were helping out Frank, and Frank looked at me, and I was all like, "Yeah, don't you remember you were telling me to do this and do that?" And I'm like, "Look, miss, I don't have I don't have time for this. I need you to sign this slip, because if I don't get this slip signed, then the school's gonna think that it was skipping, and I can't have that. You know what I mean?" So
Right.
she signed it, and I was like, "Okay." So I'm able to astral project myself to anywhere I want to be. I could go to the moon. I can go to Mars. I can go to the sun. I can go anywhere. I don't need a passport to travel. I'm there. They say, what's faster than the speed of light? Electricity. And you know why? Because it's already there. And you can talk to Nikola Tesla about this, because he harnessed the ability to take electricity from thin air. And if electricity is from thin air, then you can be anywhere, at any point, at any location, at any direction you choose. Okay, here's another one. I was playing basketball with my nephews, right? And the ball was rolling, like, I don't know, it just was rolling away from me, right? And I told myself, I am not going to run and chase the basketball. And I told myself, I'm gonna I'm gonna move the entire planet slant the planet so that the ball can roll back to me. And then as soon as I thought that, the ball started to roll back to me. And then it was still going, but somebody had interrupt my my conscience, or they disturbed me when I was focusing on it. All right. Okay. Now I know that this world is not this is not the world we know.
Now, is this
Reality
something
here.
that someone else can observe outside of you as well, or is it just within experiences that you had, and there weren't any witnesses or anyone else around you?
There are witnesses, but I won't dare put them on. I'm not going to talk about them. You know what I mean? Like the other
Right.
guy, that one guy. You know, I don't want to involve anyone. This is my crusade. All right. I'm not going to give out names of who's that and who's this. I'm not going to give out time or dates or months. I'm not going to give out any of that because these things can literally time travel. If you give somebody the exact time, the exact date, location, they will warp your reality. They've done it, they continue to do it, and they have been good at it for a very, very long time. So this is probably one of the reasons why they chose me, because I do not consider time or months as a thing. They chose me because I'm not that bright. They only give me the information that is, needed information. Only when I need to know. All right. So yes, there are witnesses that could concur, but will they admit it? No. Why? Two reasons. They're either afraid, or they don't want their reality to be warped. I am a loner because it's not easy being me, because I can't connect physically with anybody because they can change their reality. Have you looked into the Mandela effect? Or let's not talk about the Mandela. Let's
Yeah,
continue to
we
talk
talked
about
about it
my.
last time.
Okay, so here's what I'm trying to say. The Mandela effect is basically, it's somebody changing history,
But is
and
it
they're
only
changing
changing for you, or is it changing for everyone else? I mean, that would be hard to prove
everyone else. There
if you're the
are
only one that
thousands.
remembers it.
But no,
I was just saying, it would be hard to prove, especially if you're the only one that remembers it after you made that shift or change, that only you remember something differently than anyone else does.
okay, there are thousands of individuals who are experiencing the Mandela effect. Although I have not found the time to locate every single individual, but I don't even want to burden them either, because their world has changed. My world has changed. Not all of us not all of us experience the same Mandela effect. I'm telling you, something gathered us from all across the world. They brought us to this dimension, to this reality, to this plane of existence, and everyone's experience differs. And what I'm trying to say is, I've witnessed the ground move up. I saw a friend, I'm just going to call him a friend. A friend was walking. He was coming towards the house, and I saw the ground move up, and he tripped. He did the stumble. Like, you know how people trip, right? You notice how people trip?
Hmm.
But I saw him trip, but the ground made him trip. I saw it. And then I asked him, "What's wrong? Did the ground move?" And then he said, "I don't got time for your shit, Kenny." But I was genuinely trying to be sincere. I was sincere. I meant it when I said it, because I saw it. I guess he knows, but he wouldn't reveal, or he won't go online, or he won't get into the subject or any of that. He'll deny, redact it, redact it, redact it. But I saw what I saw. And that's not the only time I saw the ground warped. Okay, you know those what do you call those water main pipes that's in front of your house or whatever, if you have a house, or
The
you
fire
know what I'm talking about?
hydrants?
So what now?
You talking about the fire hydrants?
No, not the fire hydrants. Do you own a house or do you rent?
I'm out in the woods, but yeah, I own a house.
Okay, then do you know that water thing that's in front of your yard, right?
You mean like a water spout?
It's not a water spout. It's the where the CPS or the saw would like check your. You know when they cut off your water main. You
Oh, I
aware of
see.
that?
Yeah, no, all of that. I don't think I can see that. All the stuff that for
But you know
mine
what
is
I'm talking
just
about,
it's
right?
all underground. Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Okay, so it's basically a water main that if you don't pay your water bill, they cut it off, right? So
Right.
that's basically what this is. Now, I got this, I don't know, let's say 12, uh, maybe two glue sticks. So it's 24 inches long. All right. It's pretty long. Okay. So something was telling me put the stick into the hole. Don't remove the water main, the cover. Don't remove the cover. Just put the stick in the hole and just continue to go down. All right. So I kept on going. And I was going and going. And I was up to the very point where I was holding the stick with just two fingers. And I was afraid to let go of the stick. Because if I let go of the stick, I felt as if the stick would fall off from the face of the earth. So I picked up the stick and I retrieved it. I went to take it out, and then I was kind of like, how is that possible? Those water mains aren't that deep. They're like less than a foot. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
removed the cover and I put the stick back down and I hit the ground. And it was like I said, it was half the stick. And it wasn't all the way. And the dirt was not wet. There was no mud on the stick. The soil was dry. How was it possible? I've I've literally I've
Well,
literally
Kenny,
seen things.
do you have any close friends that you can talk to about these things, or what do they say about it?
I don't want to talk about that. Like I said, I don't want to mention any friends or think of them. I don't want to envision them. I don't want to. But they, I will say that they do concur that what I've experienced. They know about the Mandela effect. They are aware of my abilities because I don't have a therapist. I can't afford it. But for whenever I do talk to friends, I usually let it all out. Like I'm letting it all out to you, friend.
Right.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Am I putting you in danger? Maybe. I I mean I don't want to I don't want to do this, but I have to get the truth out. I don't care. I mean I care about you, no doubt about that. I I need to get
Well,
the
Kenny,
truth
I'd
out.
like to think that I have some choice in that, so I don't feel like you are putting me in any danger at all. So, whatever you have to say, say it. Just don't always
Okay,
be
so
afraid of
I'm gonna
having
continue.
to have some kind of repercussions.
I'm gonna continue to talk about what I'm able to do.
Right.
Um, I'm able to lower and raise my temperature, and I've thanks, like I said, thanks again to the COVID-19, I've been able to experience my abilities. There are certain places and certain facilities that they have a machine. This machine will indicate if your temperature is hot or cool. Now, I was messing around, to test my abilities. So I looked into this machine, which is like a video camera, right? It's practically a phone if you think about it. It's and I'm looking at it and I'm going back and forth at it, right? Like like I'm playing around, right? And but every time I do, I'm raising my temperature. I'm raising it, and then finally I go back to look at it again, and the thing started beeping like beep 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 beep, and I'm like get away. Of course, I didn't hit the thing, but I was like, no, it's broken. The machine's broken. All right. Okay, do you have Amazon Prime?
I used to. Well, I mean, yet
Oh,
still until it's canceled.
okay. Here's my experience that I've been going through. Um, how much do you remember paying for the? I'm pretty sure you got the 2-day delivery at the time, right?
Um, honestly, I can't remember. I can't remember what their deal was. Well, anyway, what were you gonna say? What do you notice? Something different?
Okay, look. Okay, do you know Jeff Bezos?
Right.
Did you know he stepped down from the
Yeah,
CEO
that was
position?
right. That was a while back. I think it
I
was
know.
one of his reasons was to pursue some
Uh, I don't care
philanthropic
about the reason. I'm going
whatever.
to tell you why he stepped down. You want to
Okay.
know why he stepped down? Because I called him out. I left. I left them a message. You know, when you make a complaint, I left them a message and I told them that either you fix the price range and not manipulate it, or I'll go public. Okay, and I know this because I'm good with numbers. When it comes to paying bills, I got the nose for it. All right, I mean, I know my numbers. All right, I write things down and I know what I pay. Now, originally I was paying with tax 120 something change, and I've written it down. And then now, when I went to go pay, like not too long ago, I went to paying for the yearly subscription, and they jacked it up to 130 with tax. It could have been 130 something.
Hold on,
But
Kenny. Well, why would just because you saying to
oh no,
because
this
you
is the
left a
thing.
message he stepped down?
Well, let's not talk about that. I'm getting to it. Let me get to it. All right. So what I'm saying is that when I looked at the receipts and the writings that I put down, I've noticed that something or someone changed my writing. I know my signature. I know what my signature looks like. I have pictures. I posted it up on my Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I know my writings, and I can tell when somebody changed an O to an 8. So I basically left a message saying that if you don't tell the public that you're gonna raise the price, then we shouldn't be paying the price that you raised because you didn't give notification. And then after not that long ago, after I had left them that message and I gave them 2 weeks to get something done, to do something about it, the next thing I heard, Jeff Bezos steps down. Of course, he'll say this and he'll say that. But in reality, I called him out for price gouging. All right.
Well,
And
Kenny,
at
just think
Amazon,
about it for a
that's the only
second
one.
here. Kenny, just hold on a second. You know, I understand that there's a lot of different things that occur to people, and sometimes different things are very subjective. And I understand that very much, but you know I don't know that Jeff Bezos would have stepped down simply because you send a message because of a price increase. It's like I'm sure there's more things out there and reasons why he was stepping down. I mean, I can complain to YouTube TV and everyone else all the time for them raising the prices from what it originally was, and they just give me a kind of a generic computer message. We'll do our best next time. Blah 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 blah
But you know
blah.
what? Let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about Disney Plus, because Disney Plus has also done the same thing too.
Well, I know. And said what I'm saying is
Do you
right.
have Disney Plus?
So what is the I guess the big thing behind all the different price increases? Are you trying to get to a point or
I'm
about
trying
something
to say
regarding
that
that?
the Mandela effect is affecting everyone. And if you're not careful of what you're paying for, someone can easily gouge up the price to, let's just say a bottle of liquor was 25. And then when you pay for it, it's like 28, 29. And then when you went to go reach out to pay your bills, boom, it goes up to 34. They raised it $3 more. It has happened before.
Right.
I've
Well,
seen it,
Kenny, there's a lot of
but I still pay for
economical
it.
processes and other reasons why a company might raise their prices. It doesn't necessarily mean because of one complaint of somebody that now they're going to revamp the entire structure and what
All right,
what
let's
they
not
do
talk
and why
about
they do it.
companies. Let's not talk about the price. Let's go back to to the Mandela effect. Let's go back to how
I just
have you
don't
at least
honestly. I understand about the Mandela effect and some of these obvious things, like things that we know from our childhood. That were one way, and then we remember it one way, and it's actually something different. That I can understand is intriguing, but prices. There's so many things that they could be raising the prices that doesn't necessarily have to do anything with the Mandela effect. It's just simple
but you know, if
economics.
you change something from the past, it will affect the future. It's called the butterfly effect. You step on a butterfly in the prehistoric age, boom, something else changes in the future. Look,
Right.
I know all
Okay,
this
well,
seems a
Kenny,
little
is
ridiculous.
there any other subjects you want to cover real quick, and then I want to give someone
Okay,
else a chance.
all right, I'll cover one more thing and then I'll let you guys go because I'm seeing all
Sure.
these messages here. And you know, it says cut them off and all this, but it's okay. I
Well,
understand.
Kenny, the nobody's trying to cut you off. The point is,
I'm looking at the
you
messages as I speak, and they're.
well, that's
So anyway,
fine.
let me just
They're
talk
not
about one more
running the
thing.
show. I'm the one running the show. The point what I'm
Yeah,
trying
so
to
let me
make
talk
it,
about one more
I
thing, and
allowed
then
you
I'll
to
get off.
make a lot of different points. So if you have more, and you're more than welcome to make them, I'm just asking you to make your final one.
I'll tell you what. Do you have anything to say about my experience?
No,
You
please
do
share
you want
whatever
to
else
know
you were going to
anything?
say.
Okay. So if you don't want to tell me anything that you want me to know, okay, it goes like this. Um, I've witnessed people who are not exactly what they appear to be. I've talked about this before. Mostly the people that I've talked to about this is you. And it mostly deals with reptilians, shapeshifters. And these things are everywhere. These things are in the Air Force. These things are in the schools. They're kids. And then there are adults. And then they're in the grocery stores. Like I said before, this this planet is not the planet that I was in. I wasn't born here. They brought me here. All right. They We were never in the Milky Way. We were nowhere near the Milky Way. We were so far back from the Milky Way that we were able to capture the full picture. How I was brought to this world, I don't know. Have they experimented on me? Yes. Have the doctors today started to look at my body? They've given me x rays, but not a CAT scan. They've not physically touched my body to see the bump that my chest is. And as much as I try to get the truth out, it just seems like nobody wants to hear it. But for the most part, they are the majority. They are the ones who are running this country, or this entire world. They are the majority, and I am just probably like the last of my kind. I don't know if
Kenny,
there's any other, like,
are you familiar with David Icke?
who's David Icke?
I was just wondering if you were familiar with him. He's an author, someone that kind of came kind of into the public light in the 90s with some of the predictions he was given, and then later on made kind of similar claims about the royal family and the lizards and reptilians. It's been made a joke out of now, but I was just wondering if you know of him.
I'm familiar with a guy who I don't remember the name, but I remember the individual and what he's been through. Underground facilities, gas, bad smell, uh, aliens that uses suit to look like a big head. I'm familiar with the guy who's is a construction worker who builds underground buildings, and I heard that they killed him, or he was They claimed it was suicidal, but a hit is a hit.
Oh, are you talking about what's his name? Schneider? Um,
I'm assuming
yeah,
so. I'm not too sure.
yeah.
Said
Was that in the '90s where he was supposed to be a geologist?
he was some kind of construction worker that deals with underground buildings.
Right, right. And then
Or
he went there to analyze some kind of soil or whatever, and went in with some green berets, and then
no,
they
but the
found an
thing
underground
was,
base. I
as
think
he
it's
was drilling,
Dulce, New Mexico.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay,
I know it was somewhere in America.
somewhere what? Oh,
Somewhere
somewhere
in
in
America.
America. Okay.
Yeah. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. No one's gonna
I
believe what I
hope
have
not,
to
Kenny.
say, and I'm still gonna continue to do this. I talked to MUFON. They're going to be sending someone out to talk to me, but will I get the help? Honestly, probably not. Like I
Well, I
said,
mean,
they control
right.
everything.
Well, see,
The government won't even let the knowledge out.
right. The thing, Kenny, with different experiences, and I'm speaking from personal experience, is that um, some things are very difficult to convey to others. And so all we're left with is these different experiences that we can just kind of draw the lessons from them and try to convey in the most commonsensical manner to someone what we know and why we know it. But beyond that, you cannot expect people to kind of reach out and kind of be the savior in some way, or the same way in my way. I mean, there was absolutely, other than having a friend and a friendly ear to listen to what I have to say, nobody could come close to understanding or believing what I'm talking about. Now, over the years, of course, more and more came out, so now there's more of a library and of reference points. But in the very beginning, all I had to do is just kind of trek on my own, keep doing what I'm doing, and learning more and more, and just trying to find ways to just convey messages to people in a very commonsensical way, kind of down to earth, to kind of break it down to them and explain to them, okay, this is what happened and this is why, and do my best at doing that. If they still don't believe it, that's fine, but don't beat yourself up on the fact that somebody has to be there to believe you, that somebody has to reach out, or else. It's like, simply do what you do. You reach out to MUFON, which is great. I know they're probably gonna, if I remember their process correctly, they're probably going to send a local state representative, if they have one in your city, to come and talk to you.
Yeah, they said it was a level 2. Is that good?
I don't know. I don't know what that is. What their gradation is. But the point is, they're going to come out, hear you out, kind of jot things down. Just keep in mind, MUFON is very nuts and bolts, and there's some people that are also more of the esoteric, spiritual, metaphysical stuff in the group. But because of MUFON, because of what they do, they always have to kind of play in these both worlds, in the crazy world and the normal world. And so, of course, they always want to stick to the paper, to the writing, jotting stories down, what can improve scientifically. So I don't know how much progress you can make with them, but go within, do what you've been doing, meditations, and really search, your soul for what it is that you're playing out here on during this lifetime. Figure it out, and it'll help you more, and it'll help everyone else the more you can figure out what's going on with you. It's almost like every person that we call a professional nowadays, it's a person that at one point began at the beginning knowing nothing, but one step at a time, they kept doing it over and over and over again, and then people recognize them as professional in whatever field that they do. So just keep that in mind, and just don't try not to be too hard on yourself on who believes you, doesn't believe you. Just keep on learning, write it down, maybe in a book, see
Oh,
if
I
you can.
have. I've got pictures and notes. Okay. I just want to say that I'm a preacher and I'm a paranormal activity investigator,
Mhm.
and I've also seen. Are you familiar with Hindu mythology?
I know of it, but I'm not familiar with anything specific unless you mention it.
Okay. Uh, there are certain. I guess I'm gonna read the names that I've actually seen. God, I'm gonna be butchering these things, but it's a ball. It's a boar. I'm gonna call it a boar. It's like there's an individual out there that has like a boar's head. That's or Shiva, or these I can't an ogre. Look, I know I can't pronounce any of these things, but I've done the research because I know what they look like. And if you study the mythological creatures from Hindu or Oriental from Japan, these creatures do exist. I've seen them. I've seen those New Year's dragons. That thing does exist, and they are able to morph into a dog, a canine. It's insane. I know, but I mean that's how I'm able to Google it, research it, and then when I see the pictures of these things, these entities, and I'm like, that's it. These are the things that are here. Some of these things are here in America.
Right.
It's true, but
Okay. Well, Kenny, thank you again, for
yeah,
logging in
sorry.
and talking to me. I appreciate it. I just want to give someone else a chance as well
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Go ahead. I'm just glad I was able to get. Maybe next time. Hopefully, I'll talk about the different because I don't want to be going topic after topic. I want to try to stick to one topic and get as much out.
Right.
Next time.
Yeah, I'll see. I want to go to some of the maybe some questions online, and then um, we'll see. I appreciate you logging into to Telegram and speaking to me because, of course, the whole point is for people to log into Telegram and share their story, which you've done, and I'm grateful for that. So
Do
yeah,
you have any
hopefully,
questions for me?
no, I don't right now, but
No, I'll talk
uh,
about them.
well, I would rather than have them share their stories directly, what they
Okay.
about their experiences.
When I looked at, someone was asking what I do for a job, and I'm a I'm a preacher, and I am a paranormal investigator. I do stuff like that.
Okay.
You
All
have
right.
a good
Well,
day.
thanks, Kenny, and yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's anyone else out there that would like to share your story or are just kind of on the fence and not exactly sure whether or not they should, there's a first time for everything. Don't be afraid to simply just make that decision to want to talk to somebody, even if it has to be somebody locally, a friend, or someone else you trust. If you're not too sure that what you have to say will be received in I guess to say in a positive manner. But every experience differs, no matter how, no matter how crazy or whatever else might sound, the whole point is an experience happened to you and it happened to you for a reason. And just, learn something from it, take it in, make it work for you if you can. If not, then just leave it for what it is, and move on. But, just there's at least a chance now to just download the Telegram app on your phone or the computer, find the UFO Hub group. I also have the UFO Hub group links in the video descriptions, and so simply go there, join the voice chat, and raise your hand. You'll be able to talk to me. So let me see. And also for some of you watching, if you have any questions for me, just if you could put 3 stars there and then ask a question, that way it'll pop out at me and I know that's for me and I can address it. Otherwise, everything is just going um, through the chat and I can't figure out if it's something for me or if you guys are chatting amongst each other. So having the 3 stars before your question really helps out. Okay, we have JJ Shinsu raised his hand. So JJ, go ahead. You're unmuted. Unmute yourself and start whenever you're ready.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's JJ Shinjitsu. It's supposed to be.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's actually my name is Jordan Joseph Shinji, and Shinjitsu is truth in Japanese, and I just kind of went with it when I found that out. So
good
that's
deal.
what that is.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I actually emailed you a few times. meaning to get on for a while, but I've been busy with school.
Oh, okay. I
But
know. Got it. I know who you are now. It
yeah,
took me a second, but well, I'm
yeah,
glad you made
gotcha.
it.
So yeah, I finally made it on. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I've been busy with school, but I'm an abductee, and honestly, just been meaning to get on so I can share, my story with people. Um, but should I just jump into it,
Yeah,
or
please do.
you want to ask
Please do.
questions, or
No, I would
okay?
just
So
let you tell your story, and I'll gather some questions after you tell me what you have to say.
all
Otherwise,
right,
I'll just be glued to it like everyone else watching and listening.
roger that. Okay, so I I've actually been an experiencer of numerous supernatural. I'll just put it in that context. Experiences from the time I could pretty much remember. Um, I most frequently experience what is famously known as shadow people. Of course, at the time, I was born in '89, and no computers or anything like that. Unless you have a intelligent person, encyclopedia, dictionary, or something, you're just kind of wondering, what the answer was back then. But I, on fairly, uh, almost every single day, sometimes it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'd have an experience, and other days it wouldn't happen at all, or other weeks it wouldn't happen at all. And uh, the experiences ranged from a series of different things, but most frequently I would wake up bouncing off of my bed in the middle of the night, and it wasn't where you having a dream that you like step off a cliff or something like that and your foot jerks. I was literally waking up in midair, bouncing off of my bed. That was a pretty regular occurrence. I'd always wake up with my head by the foot of my bed. I was completely turned 180 degrees, blankets pushed all the way against the wall, where you would have to someone asleep would not be able to push the blankets in the way that from the top of the bed to the bottom, all the blankets were completely pushed all the way against the wall. Um, there would be nights where I would wake up and my entire body would feel like it was pulsating like a heartbeat, and I would feel very dense, and it was a very uncomfortable experience, and it would happen every few months or so. um, and I have my understandings of what I think may have occurred um, as an adult, but at the time it was just I didn't know what to believe. I In regards to the actual shadow person, um, seconds before falling asleep, I would get this overwhelming feeling of it's very similar to when someone's standing behind you and you turn around and someone's there. It's that similar feeling, but 100-fold. And I would wake up, or not wake up, but I wouldn't be able to fall asleep because of that feeling. And for years, I was wondering whether I was crazy, whether it was my imagination. I would go to school, wait for other kids to talk about, whatever they experienced, and this never came up. So I pushed it to the back of my mind um, for years. And it wasn't until I was 18 in the military, and my girlfriend at the time, um, she was experiencing the same thing, uh, shadow people. But going back to when I was a kid, my abduction experience was following a series of repetitive dreams that I was having, where it would be a moment, just a second or two. And I would dream of that same specific moment for 3, 4 nights in a row, and then it would actually happen. And this was occurring for about 3 weeks or so. And I realized, after a while that I realized what was going on. I was having the same dream, then it would happen. So one night before going to bed, I just kind of simply told myself, if I realize that I'm having the same dream again, just kind of realize it. And as simple as that sounds, that's all I did. There was nothing more to it than that. So I went to sleep that night, and I realized I was having the same dream, and it ended up turning into an astral projection, where the experience of what it was like, it's just as real. It feels just as real as being on Earth in physical, in your body, but you don't feel pain and you can fly around and do things that you obviously can't here on Earth. And at the time I was in the 5th grade, and I watched gargoyles a lot. And my perception of flight, just because of that, it was for whatever reason in my mind when I was having my experience. And in my mind, I needed to kind of get a little bit of height so that, I didn't have any wings or anything, but I needed to get a little bit of height so I could start flying. That was just stuck in my head. And first time I tried, I hit the ground and said ow, but I realized that it didn't hurt. And I was instantly back up on my feet. I fell down, but I didn't have to push myself back up to get up. I was just back up. And I tried it again, and this time I was flying around. And I grew up in Torrance, California, and I was familiar with my city. And I started flying around. I started flying north. I grew up off of Crenshaw Boulevard, right down the street from El Camino College, if anyone's familiar with that. And I start flying towards Gardena, or I'm sorry, Hawthorne, and I wasn't familiar with the area, so I start kind of making a big turn, and I'm looking at the ground, and the first thing I notice is there was no people, and all the buildings and everything were there, but there was no people and there were no cars. I don't know why there were no cars, but I didn't see any cars. There was none parked on the streets, none driving around, and there were no people. And I'm looking at the ground as I'm flying, and it's during the day, so sky's blue, and I hit my head, and the first thoughts that came to my head was hitting my head in a swimming pool. And I said, "Ow!" I closed my eyes, and when I opened them, I looked up, and I was expecting to see the blue sky, but instead everything was white, and I couldn't tell like where the end of it was. It was just white, and it's like I couldn't tell if I was in a white, a room that where all the walls are white. I can tell how far the way the wall is, but I couldn't see. It was just like endless white. And I look to my right, I don't see anything, and I look to my left, and I can tell I could see further into the distance. So I kept looking, and I eventually noticed that it looked like there were 3 small people. And I say people because, again, I was in 5th grade, and I didn't know at this time that people actually believed that aliens abducted people. I didn't know that that was anything beyond a cartoon, which that was my experience of it. Literally just seeing them on cartoons. I thought they were just cartoons made for kids. And I know as soon as I noticed that they were there and they were all the exact same height and they appeared to be, they were looking in the same direction. I don't know what they were looking at. It kind of seemed like there was some kind of window or some kind of screen that they're all staring at, but they're all looking in the same direction. And the second that I realized that they were, live things there, at the second that I realized it, they knew that I was there and their heads started to turn around, and they just barely start turning their heads, and I woke up and I was back in my bed. And I was like, well, that was really weird, really cool experience. Never I thought at the time had a dream like that. And I've had many weird experiences already up to this point, so I just kind of shrug it off and time continues. Over the next few weeks, things started to get even weirder and more intense. I started experiencing missing time. I remember going to school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it should have been Thursday the next day, but it was Monday. And I'm like, okay, I wanted to go talk to my mom or somebody, but I'm like, what am I really gonna say? It's supposed to be Thursday and it's Monday. Like, she's just gonna look at me like I'm nuts. So I didn't say anything to her. And time continues, and the same kind of thing happens, and I'm just really feeling off because of how intense these experiences are getting. And then one night, I'm, I get ready for bed, and I'm laying down, and I see a bright white light light up my entire bedroom window, and my bedroom window went the length of my entire room. And I lived in a cul-de-sac, and the only way lights would ever shine on my window is when my mother would pull her car in to the front. We had a big RV that blocked half of the driveway, and we lived at the end of the cul-de-sac. So when her car was parked there, there's no way that any lights, even someone coming into our cul-de-sac just to make a, turn around. I know what that looked like. I'd been in that room for years, but my entire bedroom window lit up bright white. And being where I was at, where I lived, helicopters every couple days, I'd hear them, and searching for someone. We're on that border where Torrance Speedy's trying to keep out the gangs, and there's always a lot of activity where I lived. And I know exactly what a helicopter sounds like, and every once in a while, yeah, the searchlight would end up coming over my house, but it wasn't that often. It would happen every once in a great while. But I know what that experience was like. And my entire bedroom window lit up bright white, and I remember just laughing to myself and going, oh, it must be UFO. And again, I still thought that they were just cartoons made for kids at this point. But I went to sleep, and I could, hear my family in the other parts of the house when my bedroom window lit up. So I know I wasn't asleep when that happened. I could hear them doing whatever they were doing. And so I go to sleep that night, and I wake up because I feel a I feel I felt a breeze. I felt wind coming from the left side of me. And my eyes were closed. I start reaching for whatever reason, I reach over the left side of my body with my right hand, and I'm like searching for my blanket because I'm cold. And I'm just trying to find my blanket and pull it back over me. And I can't feel it, so I start searching with my left arm so I can reach a little bit further, and I can't feel my bed or anything, and I feel a breeze come across me again. My eyes are still closed, so I open my eyes, and as I'm opening my eyes, as a kid, I always had the crust in the corner of my eyes, and I remember it hurting. Corner of my eyes hurt, but I opened them up, and I'm, staring straight ahead, and I had a bunk bed. So when I opened my eyes, anytime I would see the white bottom of my bunk bed, the white bars, and the mattress was what wrapped in this allergic thing. My mom was very cautious about my allergies. So it was all white whenever I would open my eyes in the middle of the night looking at my bunk bed, and it was pitch black. So I'm a little confused. Like wondering why I'm not seeing the bottom of my bunk bed. I start looking around, and I feel a breeze again come off the left across the left side of my body. And then I look down, and I realize I'm in midair above my house. And my mind didn't know what to think at first, but I feel the wind come across my body again. I thought I was dreaming, but feeling the wind and feeling cold, my mind started racing, and I'm just thinking like, I don't know why I'm up here. I'm gonna fall. I can't fly. I'm gonna die. And my heart starts pounding in my chest. And I once heard that racehorses will run until their heart bursts. My heart was pounding
Hmm.
so hard that it felt like my heart was gonna burst in my chest. And I was like at that point where I thought I was literally just gonna die, and this overwhelming sense of calm comes over me, and I knock out. The next series of events, I was awake for what seemed like 20 to 40 seconds for each of these times that I end up waking up after this. But next thing uh, I remember waking up from feeling a lot of pain. Sorry, my dog's trying to get up on me. Um, but I felt a lot of pain. It felt like there was a two-pronged instrument in my lower abdomen, being shoved into me. And I wake up, my back is arching from the pain, and my eyes were shut the entire time. Or not the entire time, I ended up opening them, but my eyes were shut, and it was just intense, intense pain. And I felt it, being slowly shoved into me. And when my back arched, after a few seconds, whatever was doing it stopped. And the pain kind of, subsided along with it, and I was able to calm down, and I opened my eyes. And again, everything was white. And it took me a second to try to acclimate myself a little bit because of the intense pain I was just feeling. But when I was trying to, look around, I realized my vision was blurry, and it was like having water in your eyes. You blink, try to get it out. So I'm blinking, trying to clear my vision. And while I'm doing that, I realized that it looks like there's the shape of a face above me. But I couldn't see any details. It's just the outline that I could see, but the head looked larger than I was expecting. And I just kept blinking, trying to get a clear focus on whatever it was in front of me. And while I'm doing that, uh, it starts to shove whatever instrument back into my body, and again the pain continues, and the more it shoves in,
I don't want to
the
interrupt.
greater
I
the
just want to
pain.
clarify. So you were
Mhm.
basically observing what was happening to you while your body was still in bed, but yet you could feel the physical pain?
No, I was physically there from what
Oh,
the
okay.
experience was like.
Got it.
Yeah. So I the the thing kept shoving the instrument in me. I knock out though, and then I wake up, and I remember, just the first thing I remember was it felt like a cold metal table that I was laying on. And that sense of being on a cold metal table, I was like, okay, I felt groggy. I felt extremely tired. And um, I started looking around for signs that I'm in the doctor's office. So I don't know why, but I always look to my right first. And I think it's probably because that's the side I would get off on my bed when I would wake up.
Right.
So instinctively, I would just always look to my right. And I didn't see anything. I start looking over to my left, and it seemed like there's a table or some kind of thing in between, me and whatever's in the distance. And I'm like looking at that, and my vision's going up, and I realized there were 4 or 5 people. I couldn't see details. It was the same deal with my eyes being blurry. And it looked like there were 4 or 5 people just standing side by side, all, I couldn't see their details or features at all, but it seemed like they're all staring at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, still looking for evidence that I'm in a doctor's office. And the figure on the furthest right, as I was looking at it, before my eyes, my vision was blurry, the, body of it formed into a lab coat, a white doctor's lab coat. And I went, oh, okay, I guess I am in a doctor's office. Again, I felt extremely groggy. And
Mm.
then if I just kind of like knocked out. Next and last thing I remember, I wake up, and I am standing up, and my head is 45 degrees forward. There's nothing physically holding me, but in none of the instances, I should have mentioned, I couldn't move my body. In all the other instances, I was able to move my head. I couldn't move the rest of my body, but my head I was usually always able to move. This time, when I'm standing up, my head's tilted 45 degrees forward. I can't move my head. And if anyone's ever seen the Minority Report, whenever I think of this experience, I always think of Tom Cruise when he's, stuck in that thing, and his eyes are, about to get taken out, and he's just looking around. That's kind of what I was doing. I'm just kind of looking around, trying to figure out what's going on, and I couldn't see anything. Again, everything's white. Can't even see where the floor is. And I was consciously aware for the longest for this. And I was probably awake for about 40 seconds before I started feeling, and the closest description I can really give is it felt like a red hot ball being shoved into the back of my neck. And
Mm.
this this experience was the weirdest because when I closed my eyes from the pain, when I opened my eyes back up, I was immediately back in my bed. I was in my room. I didn't feel any passage of knocking out, waking back up. It was just like I was there in the ship, and then immediately it felt like I was back in my bed, just shutting my eyes from the pain, opening them back up. I was immediately back in my room. So, the first thing I did, I put my hand to the back of my neck to see, I assumed there would be a wound. So I put my hand to the back of my neck to see if I was bleeding, and I didn't see any blood, and it wasn't hurting at all. So I start calming down. I'm like, wow, that was a very intense dream. And as soon as I have those thoughts, the pain in that spot where it was being shoved in the back of my neck, it just goes off. Where that pain intensity level, like when you start getting a pinch and it hurts a little bit and it hurts more and more,
Right.
it didn't feel like the pain just started. It felt like it continued, like that pain threshold. It felt like it continued from where I guess was on the ship. And it lasted for about 10, 15 seconds. I tried to scream because I could hear my grandfather doing stuff in the kitchen. And I tried to scream, but it was so painful that I couldn't. No sound came out of my mouth. And that ended up being my abduction experience. Um,
And what was this
Again,
again? How old were you? Do you remember?
I was in fifth grade.
Okay.
I was in the fifth grade, and actually, it took me a while to realize, but following my abduction experience, all of the supernatural experiences I had ever had on a normal, regular basis, they all stopped. It all stopped. My normal, weird experiences at night that I was always having for years, they just suddenly stopped.
Mm.
And nothing weird happened until eighth grade sorry, I need to let my dogs out.
Mm.
Nothing happened until I was in the eighth grade, and it was a week before my eighth grade graduation. I I was getting ready for bed, and that familiar feeling of the shadow person being there, it I started to feel it again. And the first thoughts that came in my head was no. That was a little kid fear, and I'm not a little kid anymore. So I try to ignore it, and I get ready for bed. I get under my covers, and I'm still sitting up. But oh, one of the other things I forgot to mention, my blanket's getting dragged off of me. That was one of the regular occurrences I would always have, and this was happening again. I'm sitting there staring at my blankets on my lap, and they're just slowly moving down. And I'm, feeling a little scared, but I'm in eighth grade now, and I'm like, I'm not afraid. I'm not gonna, let myself fall into that again. So I'm just being logical, and I'm like, okay, the excess, you know, comforter that's hanging off the edge of the foot of my bed is, because I flopped my blankets over, it, shifted the weight or something, and it's just dragging off my bed. So I go to the foot of my bed and I fold whatever's hanging off. I just fold it up onto the top of my bed, and I'm like, all right. So I get back under my uh, comforter. I fluff it back on top of me, and you know how comforters take a while to for the air to come out of it.
Right.
I just remember it. I'm a little kid, right? So my comforter is like all the way up to my eyes, and it's just barely going below my eye level. And I start feeling my blankets dragging off of me again. I looked down, and this time like the speed, the rate, it seemed like it was dragging off twice as fast. So I'm like sitting there just staring at the blankets slowly dragging off of me. And I'm like, no, the comforter, in my head, I'm still staring at my blanket, but I'm like imagining that the comforter somehow, came unfolded and now it's dragging off me twice as fast. So I'm trying to, be logical about this.
Right.
So I look up at the foot of my bed, and the blankets are still folded up. I look back down at my lap, and I'm just doing this double take back and forth, and my mind is racing. I don't know what to think, so I just kind of don't know what else to do. I put both my hands on my on my comforter, and I pull. And one of the scariest moments I've ever had was during this time, feeling, if you grab a blanket and someone pulls on it, you can kind of tell where they're pulling from. And it felt like whatever was pulling back on my blanket, it felt like its hands were directly in front of mine. And it again pulled twice as hard as I did. And, now I'm freaking out. And at this point, um, I, I kind of, whenever I'd get scared, I just kind of flip into anger, because as a little child, I learned that when I'm angry, I don't feel scared. And it's just kind of something that I ended up doing, having a violent father growing up. And I start getting angry. So I go to the foot of my bed and I try to punch whatever's there. Again, I don't see anything, and I'm feeling kind of dumb while I'm doing this, but I swing 3 times, and I'm staring at the like foot or so of space of nothing, there. And I'm on my knees because I have a bunk bed. So I'm on my knees and I'm just kind of like there after I swing, and I'm trying to calm down. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how my blankets are dragging off. My mind was still racing, but I'm calming down. And as I start to turn to try to just get back into bed and go to sleep, out the corner of my eye from my closet, the darkest part of my room, lowest vibration, um, I see it look, like if you ever watch Harry Potter, it looked like a Dementor flying horizontally towards me. His body is horizontal at first, and it just looks like black smoke, but in the shape of a somewhat solid kind of shape. And it stops in pretty much the center of my room. And I'm just stuck like a frozen deer in the headlights. And I can hear my grandmother and grandfather out in the dining room. And this thing is standing there, and I'm thinking about running to them. But, my mind again is racing. I know this thing, it physically pulled on my blankets. So I'm thinking about running through it. But in my mind, again, I did martial arts from the time I was 5. So I imagine it like stopping me. So I'm like, oh, I punch it. And then I picture it breaking my arm. I try to kick it. It breaks my leg. So I'm like, I'm just stuck. I don't know what to do. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I end up resorting back to when I was in, 5th grade, and my blankets are going over my head because I'm getting back under my covers. I didn't know what else to do. And actually, I need to backtrack a little bit. It was just kind of there in the middle of my room, kind of just staring at me, and it physically disappeared. I saw it physically disappear, but I could still feel its presence. Even though I saw it disappear, I could still feel it. And that made me want to run to my bedroom door and get out of there to go get to my family. But the fact that I could still feel its presence, that was the reason that I just ended up getting back under my covers. And I'm under my covers, and as I'm pulling the blankets over my eyes, I see it reappearing by my feet, about 2 feet away from my bed. It reappears. And I barely see it, reappearing as the blankets are uh, coming over my head. And I'm just, all these memories are come flooding back from when I was younger. My mind is racing. I don't know whether I'm losing my mind. I don't know if I'm crazy. Here growing up hearing, oh, crazy people don't know that they're crazy. Isn't that crazy? None of that stuff helped. So my mind is just racing. I'm trying to figure out how any of this is happening. And as my mind is racing, I'm realizing this thing could hurt me if it wanted to. I've been under my blanket for a while. It's just a blanket, and it's just standing there. Like it, obviously it could pull on my blanket. So if it wanted to hurt me, it probably would have done that already.
Right.
So I'm starting to calm down, and while I'm calming down, I start realizing I think I can hear it breathing. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm under my blanket, I'm breathing myself. The echo or something is just, freaking me out. So I hold my breath and I listen. And to the best of my ability, this is what I heard. It basically just sounded like labored, struggled breathing.
Mhm.
So I'm laying there, I'm hearing this. I'm like, okay, I'm actually hearing it. It's coming from outside my blanket. And I start peeking out from under the covers. And the first thing I noticed was the shape of its hat. And my first thoughts were, why does a ghost have a hat? That didn't really make any sense to me. But I'm just kind of scanning it from top down, and its arms, look like, if you just Google Hat Man, it looked just like those images. And as it got towards the ground, it got too dark, so I didn't see feet or anything, and my eyes start going back up, gets to the face, and it took me a while to realize it, but it looked like there was two red dots of floating pigment. It wasn't like lights or anything. It just looked like floating pigment right where the eyes would be. And I realized, okay, maybe those are its eyes. And as soon as I thought that, its eyes disappeared for about 2 seconds or so. And then the eyes appeared again. And from bottom up, it vanished into thin air. And what that left me with was the impression, because it looked like it was wearing a hat, the impression it left me with was, when someone wearing a hat, out of courtesy, they'll, sometimes tip their hat to you to acknowledge, hi, whatever they're doing. So the impression it left was that it was acknowledging, like, as soon as I was looking into its eyes, I realized it was there. It was like, okay, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. We know that we're here. And then it was gone.
Right.
And as a child in 8th grade, that was the last time I experienced supernatural things, after my abduction. That was the last time until I got into the military. And that was when weird things started to occur again. I was in the Coast Guard, and my first duty station was in Montauk, New York. And anyone familiar with the conspiracy theories, regarding Montauk,
Right.
there's a lot of interesting stuff going on over there. And I mean, just to give an example, the Montauk base over there is very small. It's not very large, but I had to, I was new at the station, and I had to do the mids. It was essentially the worst time to get stuck in the radio room. But you're there from 12, uh, I'm sorry, 2 in the morning till 6. And I had been used to it. I'd been doing it for a few weeks at this point already. So it wasn't anything that, was stressful or anything like that. But whenever we do our rounds, we have to go around the entire station. We have to go check the boats. We have to go check all the different buildings. We have to check the boiler rooms, check the temperatures. And I do all this, and I'm on my way back to the main building where we have our comms room. And right next to that is what we call the B hole. It's called the bosun's hole. And even that building has its own history. But the reason I'm bringing that building up is there was a fireman. That's the rank of a non-rate. A fireman, apparently, I had been told, hung himself in the bosun's hole a few years prior to being stationed there myself. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but on my way back to the main building, the door of the beehole slammed shut. And these are heavy weather doors. Montauk, apparently, I was told the name is Native American. It translates to something like land of many winds, but it is extremely windy in Montauk. And So the heavy weather door slams shut. These are heavy doors, not easy to open. And I look over, and it looks like there's a 6'1", 6'2", tall, look like a white guy wearing a black and red checkered, jacket. And I was unsure why he was there. There's only so many people that live on the base, and he didn't look like anyone that would be there, no one I'd seen before. So a regular protocol is, we have to identify anyone that we don't know on the base, because, obviously it could be a threat. So I start to, pursue this person, but they disappeared behind the truck in the parking lot, the parking lot was directly in front of those doors, basically. It's only maybe like 10 feet or so. And then there's the first parking spot, and there was a huge truck there. I think it was my MK1. I think it was his truck. But he disappeared behind that truck. And, again, it's the middle of the night, so it's dark, but, the lights are on in the parking lot and everything that we have out there. So instead of, directly following behind the truck, where if he was actually there to, do something that we don't want, and if he was going to attack me, I don't want to follow directly in his footsteps, so where he can jump me. So I go around the front of the truck, and I'm checking in between all the cars, and I see that there's no one there, and I go all the way around the opposite way, and I confirm that, there's nobody there. And again, the parking lot, it's dark, but we still have our lights, and there's a fence that runs around the entire property. There's no way that he'd be able to run, get to the fence without me seeing and hearing him. And again, as I'm walking around, I'm realizing how loud my own footsteps are, where, there's dead silent, where the gravel that I'm stepping on, it sounds like I have a radio on blast, like
Right.
with my nerves and everything, it felt loud. So I'm realizing, like, I'm not hearing any footsteps. And then I'm kind of thinking back a little bit, and I'm like, I didn't hear any footsteps to begin with when he first was walking over there. So, next thing I'm supposed to do is go wake up the officer of the day and let him know, hey, there's someone on this property that isn't supposed to be here. And I'm thinking, I'm going to change his name, but we'll call him Jack. But I didn't want to go wake him up, you know? And what am I going to tell him? Hey, I found a ghost in the parking lot. Like that's
Hmm.
what those were my thoughts. I knew that there's no way he could have gotten away from me. I knew, I knew this wasn't a regular situation. And
Especially in the
I kept
military, like how
my
do you
mouth shut.
report that?
Exactly. They're gonna look at me like I'm nuts, and like so I kept my mouth shut. Like I knew I had strange experiences growing up as a kid, and honestly, this just felt like that. And um, so again, nothing weird had happened for years since 8th grade, and then this happens. And then I don't know how much longer after that it was, but I was um, on duty again, and I was brushing my teeth. It was after the workday, and my shipmate was smoking a cigarette up on the second deck. And I'm brushing my teeth in the middle of it, but he starts calling me, "Sis, come out here, come out here." So I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know if it's an emergency or anything. So I run out with my toothbrush and
Mhm.
toothpaste, still in my mouth. I run out to the second deck, and he points up at the sky, and he's like, "What is that?" And it's a uh, beautiful orange, orb. It's oval shaped in the sky, and we're staring at it, and I still have my toothpaste and everything in my mouth, but I'm standing there watching with him until it pretty much disappears in the distance. And then I run back to the bathroom to try to, get the toothpaste out and finish my business. And he's calling me out again. And off in the distance, we see two more slowly coming across the sky. And we stand there, and we end up seeing about 6 UFOs evenly spaced out, just going off east into the Atlantic Ocean. And neither of us said anything about it. I actually, after I got out of the military, ended up messaging, end up adding everyone on Facebook, and I'd messaged his wife saying, hey, there's this article that I wanted him to check out, and they never responded, of course. I don't know if he ever told her about the experience, but that was when the memories of everything are kind of like, all right, like weird stuff is going on. um and I didn't, I tried to ignore it at that time. I didn't want to look into this stuff. My experiences as a child, all it did was make me question my sanity, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I avoided this stuff for years, and especially being in the military, that was when I consider myself to be at that point in my life where I was most, kind of young and dumb. And I had a lot of anger in me at the time, and it was just not something that I was wanting to look into at all, and it just felt like it was constantly being forced upon me. And then following these experiences was when my girlfriend at the time starts telling me she's experiencing shadow people.
Mm.
And the stuff that she's talking about is just, again, of course, bringing back up all
Like
these memories
separately
from my own
before you two
childhood.
met, or while you guys were together?
While we were together, she was having these experiences.
Okay.
um Honestly, I can't remember if she was having them before we met. But even the someone that I started talking to a few months back, she uh, actually started experiencing shadow people, and she never experienced it before meeting me. So I don't know if they're attached to me and if this is the reason. I don't know if it's because I mean, I do consider myself to be a light worker, so this kind of stuff I talk about, in my private life with anyone willing to listen all the time. And I don't know if it's the result of waking up and just, the vibration that you resonate at becoming more, interesting to them. I have no idea what the truth is, but, this is what's happened.
Right. Well, I want to ask you a few questions. I know I'll be maybe backtracking quite a bit. So, were you
Mhm.
able to kind of identify the first beings that you were kind of interacting with, who, and what they were?
Um, The experiences I had, again, were always different, but I've experienced a range of different beings. There was one night where I woke up and it felt like there was a bowling ball in the center of my chest. And at this point, um, I kind of viewed the shadow person as like a friend, almost, because I mean, if you can imagine, I'm thinking that I'm crazy during the day whenever I'm around other people because I know these things are going on, but I don't know why. I didn't understand it. But at night, when it was happening, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew, I know the limits of imagination. I knew it wasn't able to do that. Since then, side note, I'm a psychology major attending UCR, and I started going to college when I was in middle school. But because I started going to middle school, that made me kind of avoid school for many years. Anyway, um, but this being was a comfort to me when it was there. I
Mm.
felt sane, it became a positive thing ever since the time that I wanted to get out of my bed and walk over to it. And in my head, in my own voice, it sounded like, you could hear your own voice when you think a lot of times. I don't know if you guys think in other people's voices, but I hear my own. And in my head, it said that it was observing me. And this was after like 3-4 months of when it first started occurring. um, I was going to get out of my bed one day, and hearing that, it kept me from, like, I was literally like, my muscles were moving my legs out, and I heard that in my head, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was calm and thinking about it as an adult. I'm like, it, why would I, like, if that was my own thoughts in my head, why would I feel comfortable enough,
Mm.
to just stop and just be like, oh, it's observing me just because I thought it. Like, no. It, took me into many years to realize that it was speaking to me. you know, because all this stuff I try to block out. I wasn't trying to think of it. I didn't want to be crazy. So
Right.
this wasn't stuff that I was trying to think about a lot. And anyway, sorry to finish your question. The I felt a bowling ball on my chest, and you know, this was the incubus, succubus, and you know, that's my perception of it now. But when it happened, it looked like a face, and it didn't look human. It looked like something pretending or trying to look human, and there's white stuff flowing all around its head, and it, you know, it kind of gives a perception of hair, so I can understand the descriptions that other people have of a old lady that with white hair. I
Mhm.
understand it, but as it was happening, I knew it wasn't an old lady, or you know, it didn't feel like some ghost or like any of those things. It felt like another being, and it was just sitting on my chest in front of my face. But honestly, I didn't feel afraid at the time because so many weird things had been happening that, you know, I just kind of separated myself from it in a way where I kind of just ignored it even during the experiences because they were so intense, you know, a lot of times. So I kind of was ignoring it, but I felt even calmer when I looked off to the side and I saw the shadow person um, standing next to my bed. And this was the only time that I honestly remember it ever not being in the closet. It was always in the closet. And it was not in the closet this one time. And it felt like it was draining something from me. Like I didn't really care at the time. I felt groggy. I trusted it. You know, I kind of considered it a quote unquote friend of
Mhm.
sorts. And I felt safer because it was there. You know, this weird thing in front of my face was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And I see the shadow person, I'm like, all right, whatever. I just kind of went back to sleep. But it did feel like it was draining something from me, which is, you know, following my research into these things, it is my belief that these beings are the reasons that we have the, you know, stories of vampires where everything kind of gets turned on its head, you know, when it comes to truth, in my opinion. Um, but these are energetic vampires, and I believe that's where, you know, our stories of vampires actually originate from, where, you know, these beings were called and described as just being blacker than black,
So,
apparently thousands
so
of
you're
years ago.
saying, so you'll, regarding the identification, so you would say shadow people and then just the others, just alien that wanted you to think there was something else?
Um, no, honestly, each being is separate. You know, shadow people are their own whatever they species, if you
You
want to
don't
look at it
think there
like
was a
that.
correlation between them being present in your life and then these different abduction experiences?
I think that the abduction experiences were triggered by the fact that I was astral projecting, and like you know, I've of course followed many things, and I don't subscribe to any one thing. My mind remains open until I absolutely know the truth. You know, I'm open to the possibility that I made an agreement in a past life with them and they're just intervening, and you know, there's all the different versions of why it could be happening. But what I've taken from it um, is I do believe that, you know, I made a decision to incarnate to do what I'm doing kind of like right now. Um, but I needed a way to be able to break away from all the lies that we've been given. And when I look back at the experiences, that's what it feels like. It feels like these were interventions so that I could simply wake up and remember the truth, so to speak. Um, the experiences were painful. They, you know, I do hold anger and resentment sometimes when I think about it, but the person that I would be today without those experiences, I know I'd be completely different. And as stubborn as I am, um, I would need something like that to, you know, I had the same perception. Even though I had these experiences, I was still, you know, that person that made fun of people that believed in this stuff growing up. And, you know, a lot of it was because probably, back of my mind, I was scared that I was going to find out I was crazy, and it was my way of fighting against it. But I fought against this stuff until I was in my mid-20s, and that was when I finally started looking into it. After all this stuff happened, it took me a lot to actually delve into it to figure out, okay, am I crazy or not? Let's find out. And
So, did you find that was the only reason why, or was there just a deeper desire
what do you mean?
to go after to try to figure out what was it? Because some people, I mean, you can still have the experiences and kind of just leave it at that, but others have just this desire that they just absolutely have to go and look into it, what that is.
Well, I mean, I would say that it changed over time. In the beginning, it was just kind of wanting to know, like, when my ex starts telling me about these experiences that she's having, and they're, completely aligned with the type of experiences that I've had, I just started looking into shadow people. That was the first thing I started looking into. And, it just kind of went from there. Uh, the rabbit hole that we all are familiar with, it just pulled me in. But I had a lot of experiences where I was able to navigate, in my opinion, um, navigate through the waves of information out there to figure out what the truth is. It was kind of like that sixth sense of just trusting your gut to figure out what
Right.
to consider or not. And there's a lot out there. And again, like I said earlier, I don't if I just was having a quick conversation, it would probably come across like, oh, this is exactly what I believe. But I know it could be wrong. I know I could
So,
be completely wrong about everything I said.
right.
But
Well, I mean, obviously, this pushed you enough to want to be, reaching out to me and then calling in today. So, so it would almost seem like a silly question for me to ask you. So, where do you stand now? Obviously, you went to the next step. So, what do you think this will lead you on your search next?
um, honestly, I don't know. I'm just doing what I can. I mean, I made a video recently, and I've been working on other parts, and it's just kind of taking uh, different information and streaming it all together to try to paint the picture of what I view is going on. So I'm trying to express it and get the information out there. But for years, I just took the approach of um, talking to whoever's willing to listen, and my personal Facebook. When I started posting about stuff, I was like, okay, I can make another profile, but I was like, no, people know me, and why talk to a bunch of strangers? I'm going to start with the people that actually know me. Yeah, they're going to probably, a lot of them going to think I'm crazy, and of course that happened. People are we're messaging my mom years ago, going, is Jordan all right? Like, is everything
Right.
okay? And for as far as my mom goes, she surprised me when before I went into the military. She wasn't, she never went to church or did anything religious, spiritual, anything like that. And when I got out of the service, she was a Reiki master, and she was reading my energy levels like a horoscope, to the point where she was freaking me out. And, she's reading me and telling me things about myself, and I'm like thinking, like, did I tell her anything? And I'm like, no, like, I didn't. And she worked with me, made me do energy work for months, like 4 months. She made me do energy work before she let me use her pendulum. And the entire time I would see her use her pendulum. If people aren't familiar, pendulum is basically like a crystal rock attached to like a chain or string. And when you hold it, you ultimately, it's responding to energy, and you ask it a yes no question, and it'll respond as yes no or maybe. But that's the simple, understanding behind it. And I'd be sitting there watching my mom hold it, and I'm staring at her arm, and like, oh, she's twitching a little bit. That's why it's moving. So even though it's like you want to believe it the entire time, it's like you're skeptical. But the moment that she finally let me use the pendulum, and I knew that I wasn't trying to physically move it to manipulate what it was doing, I realized, holy crap, like this is real. And it was those experiences that ultimately pushed me over that edge to be like, okay, let me look into this stuff. It was after all that stuff happened. Yeah,
Right.
it's kind of, recollecting it the more we talk about it. But
Well,
it was a
thank you very
process.
much for finally calling in. And I know we were in touch there for a little bit email wise, but I'm glad you did this next or took the next step to share your story with me and everyone else watching, obviously.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for letting me come on and listen to what I had to say, guys. If you guys have questions, just, I don't know how, but you can message me if you can somehow.
Right. All right. Well, thank you again. And where you can tune in if there's more that you want to share for next time. But for now, there's just a few things I want to clarify here. So I've been kind of watching the chat as things are going on. So just to respond to Vincent, no, I do not have to pee because my chair kind of slipped out from under and looked like I was further away from a table. But then also I realized in this new software I have, when I answered no, it answered on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So this would kind of look odd for someone who is on Twitch, and just out of nowhere, my first comment would be just no. So anyway, just want to clarify that. And regarding some other, I think Vitra was asking about stories. The thing is, everyone you see in Telegram, they sometimes just come on to listen, and others that want
Mm,
to speak, they can raise their hand. So when you see someone that has raised their hand, and I'll pick them, it's just because that person happens to be there and they want to speak. Everyone else that's in there, I don't know if they want to speak to me or not unless they raise their hand. So unless someone does raise their hand, then of course the other person, would not get as much time to share their story, because I would like to get to others as well. But if you see others just popping in and out, that's just people just that are part of the Telegram group, and there's I think over 80 plus people there now. And so when there's a voice chat open, they might pop in, to see what's going on, and they pop right back out. They're not necessarily interested to speak. So anyway, yes, in the future, to answer your question, if there's more people and there's more raised hands, of course the stories I'll have to shorten them so everybody gets a chance. But until then, I'm just grateful for people logging in, sharing their stories, and in a way, they should really. I'm hoping that if I continue this for a long time in the future, for them to really find themselves of the very privileged few that they really got, a half hour to sometime longer of my attention, everyone else's, to share their story. Depends on how many people in the future might log in. That time would have to decrease to 10 minutes per person, 5 minutes per person, and maybe even less, but I just don't know. Maybe I would have to limit it to like 10 minutes and give, let's say, 5 people 10 minutes time to tell their stories in full. Because a lot of the interviews that I do, I give them the time to say whatever they need to say, and that can be an hour and a half, that can be 2 hours, and I also want to give the same respect to the guests calling in as well. And instead of just be like, okay, hurry up, tell me your story. Okay, finish this up. It's kind of, you're missing a point. There's a build up to a story. There's emotions involved. There's recollection, and I know that's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but if you truly want to understand and experience, it's worth it spending the time to hear somebody out. And so, anyway, I think it was Vitra. I hope that answers your question. That yes, in the future it would be shorter. But for now, if they're on, I would just welcome them to come and speak. And yeah, because it was JJ that came on, and basically raise his hand after Kenny, and so that way I knew, oh, there's another person who wants to speak instead of just listen to what's going on, because this is also simultaneously going out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and going live on Telegram as well. So you can just, if you're not necessarily able to watch it on the screen somewhere, you can just log into the Telegram during either an interview or open lines, and you can just listen to what's going on and what's being shared. Because just recently I made it, changed my system around and worked it out to where even if I have a guest, you can listen to me and the guest speak over Telegram, and so it would be kind of the equivalent of just a radio, just voice. And you can also now, when it's time for Q&A, whether you're in Telegram or watching, you'll have to log into Telegram or on the chat, submit your question that way. If you're in Telegram, you can actually speak to the guest yourself, like we did last time. I think Kiwani Lepsoritis was the first time where I really got to test the system out. And so log in, raise your hand, and I can just click on you and say, okay, you're next, please ask your question. And just kind of make it quick, get to the point. That's where I'm kind of more constrained in time, and just to stick to one question so that the guest can answer and I can move on to the next person. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of a roundabout way, but try to give you the kind of an answer why I go longer on these different stories. If there's more people, obviously it'll be less. So anyway, I am. Let me see. There's some questions that have gone through here. So Victor Bolivier, just Victor, I guess. The question was, has anyone had communication with ETs regarding the pandemic? Not that I know of. There's a guest in the future that I'm thinking about having on. I haven't even reached out to them yet, so I don't know if they'll respond, but they do channeling, and they channel information that is, I believe, supposed to be channeled information from these specific beings from the Sirius constellation. And so they often speak about what's been happening now. So I figured he would be a good guest to see if it would be interested. But again, I don't want to make any promises because I haven't even reached out to ask yet. Anonymous Jerry, question is, can I share footage to you? If so, then where? If you can go to ufohub.net, and there's under contact, you can simply just fill out the contact form, and that's how I think he said his name was Jordan, but it's on here it says JJ Shinjitsu. He reached out to me that way, and we interacted regarding, emailed back and forth. And then one of these times he was also wanting to speak, and I just mentioned, hey, log in next time I'm on open lines and share your story. And here he is. So I'll be able to get your information the same way. I don't know, I can't remember. There's no way to attach files, but if you have a link off of YouTube, just send it to me. In the past, if some people have asked if for me to look at it, and sometimes it's great to see, but all I can really do is just maybe next open line just mention the channel or something and say, hey, check it out. You might find this interesting. I can't confirm or deny what it is that they have there, but it was interesting enough for me to look at, and I would urge other people to check it out, just to kind of support each other in the community, because there's others that do put in the work to go out night after night, have the cameras on, trying to record some things that look pretty cool and are interesting, and it would be nice to have other people see it. Clearly Brooks or Brooke, said, does he have a website? I came on late. What is this website or way to contact him? So are you talking about JJ Shinzitsu or me, or can you please clarify who you're referring to? And then while I'm still online, and because I'm thinking about kind of making it quits for today, so reach out and please clarify it, and maybe I can get you an answer back. Okay, so Renee Cruz, I'm glad you clarified that. I had thought that the report was supposed to be coming out in the very beginning of the month, but you're saying there's still 8 days, 4 hours, 43 minutes, 15 seconds to 180 days. So then that means that it is coming up at the end of the month, as I mentioned in an earlier article that I read from the New York Post. So yeah, if any of you have some questions, I try or do my best to answer you. Whatever it is, like in JJ's situation, I have the contact form obviously available there. When I was still working on the studio and getting everything prepped, I'm ashamed to say, but it took almost a year to get back to people, say, hey, I finally got your message, I'm sorry I'm late, and then I would respond if I can. And so but now I can be a little bit more responsive. So if you have any questions or something that you think I can help you with, then reach out. Simply go into ufohub.net, and there should be a contact form. Let me see, I still have a browser open here. I can share that real quick. So under trying to remember my own website. It's been a while since I've been on it. Yeah, right under here, you see contact. When you just click on that, there's this contact form, and just fill this out, submit it to me, and then you'll be able to get in touch with me. Let me see again. JJ, I'm sorry, you're probably not expecting this. I muted you. There was a question from
Yeah, what's up?
Clearly Brooke. She was asking to some information regarding you saying, what's his website or way to contact him?
Oh yeah, I put my in the chat. I'm Hapa JJ, and I put my
Oh, I see now. Hapa JJ.
the
Okay.
yeah, I put my JJ Shinjitsu Facebook info. It's not my. I have two, my private, and Facebook likes to throw us in Facebook jail, So I made another one, and I just kind of usually tag my main profile in it, but that's the new one that I created to kind of get around their BS.
Right. Okay. Well, good deal. I'm glad you did. I'm sorry. Sometimes I can't keep track of too many things. So, yeah, I'm glad you did that. Hapa JJ is the profile. So, whatever you had pasted or responded to there, I guess that information can be useful to get a hold of you. Correct?
Yeah, just go ahead and message me on there, add me. Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Well, I'm going to mute you again and again. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, well, thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. And so please log in again on Friday. I'm going to have Catherine Andres, and we'll be talking about astrology, iris and palm reading, and a lot of possibly like numerology and going into that kind of stuff. So if you're interested to learn and know more about it, just log in on Friday at 7. I will be streaming again on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and also simultaneously on Telegram. So if you want to ask later on during the Q&A, want to ask the guest a question, simply download the Telegram app on your computer or phone, join the UFO Hub group, and then join the voice chat when it's time. I usually start the voice chat about 15 to 20 minutes before the show starts. And at times, some of you chat with me before the show starts, just to, chit chat for whatever, it kills some time. And so those of you who want to do that, I can't promise that I can talk to everybody, but we just have like a little pre-show meeting before everything begins. I can do that more during the open lines when I'm doing the show on Friday. I usually have the guest and they're right there with me. So sometimes I can't go into great detail about whatever discussion we happen to have at that time. And so, but yeah, just simply use Telegram if you want to ask a question in, yourself. But otherwise, whether you are on any of the other 3 platforms, simply in the comments or the chat, use 3 little stars before your question, and then I know that you want to ask the guest, and I will relay that question to them. So yeah, that should be it. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. It's been great. And so next week again, we'll have open lines at 7. This Friday, there's going to be an interview with Catherine Andres at 7. And so generally always look forward to Wednesday and Thursday. There's always going to be open lines on Wednesday, an interview, and a guest on Friday at 7. So thank you. Have a good day. Hopefully see some of you on Friday, and enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of the week. Bye.